Paraiyar or Paraiyar is a caste group found in the Indian states of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. They are also known as Adi Dravida, which was a title encouraged by the British Raj as a substitute for Paraiyar because the British believed that their colonising of the country had ended slavery in India. The Indian census of 2001 reported that in Tamil Nadu the Adi Dravida population was about 5,402,755 and the Paraiyar population was 1,860,519. Etymology. Robert Caldwell and several other writers derive the name of the community from the Tamil word Paraiyar. According to this hypothesis, the Paraiyars were originally a community of drummers who performed during flood time, war, auspicious events like festivals, weddings and also funerals. As the population increased, they were forced to take up occupations that were considered unclean, such as burial of corpses and scavenging. Because of this, they came to be considered as an untouchable caste. M. Srinivasa Iyengar finds this etymology unsatisfactory, arguing that beating of drums could not have been an occupation of a large number of people. Some other writers, such as Gustav Solomon Oppert, derive the name from Paraiyar, the name of a regional subdivision mentioned by ancient Tamil grammarians. History. Pre-British period. The Sangam literature contains references to the caste system of Tamil culture, which contained certain low-born groups referred to as Paraiyar. They were believed to be associated with magical power and kept at a distance, made to live in separate hamlets outside villages. However, the magical power was believed to sustain the king, who had the ability to transform it into auspicious power. Thus the Paraiyar performed a ritual function by composing and singing songs in the king's favor and beating drums. They were divided into subgroups based on the instruments they played. George L. Hatt believes that one of the drums, called Kinai, later came to be called Paraiyar and that people that played the drum were Paraiyar. The earliest text and reference to the term Paraiyar occurs in a poem by the Sangam poet Adi, but the earliest mention of the term as a caste does not occur until the reign of Rajaraja Chola. For this period onwards, the word occurs in different contexts in the various pre-British sources. Inscriptions, especially those from the Thanjavur district, mention Parayacharas, which were separate hamlets of the Paraiyars. Also living in separate hamlets were the artisans such as goldsmiths and cobblers, who were also accorded low status in the Sangam literature. In a few inscriptions, Paraiyars are described as temple patrons. There are also references to Paraiyar chieftainships in the 8th and 10th centuries, but it is not known what these were and how they were integrated into the Chola political system. According to the later Chola inscriptions, someone who breaks the terms of an endowment is to be considered as degraded as a man who gives his wife to a Paraiyar. Bertenstein describes an essentially continuous process of expansion of the nuclear areas of the caste society into forest and upland areas of tribal and warrior people, and their integration into the caste society at the lowest levels. Many of the forest groups were incorporated as Paraiyar either by association with the Paraiyar drummer by integration into the low-status laboring groups who were generically called Paraiyar. Thus, it is thought that Paraiyar came to have many subcastes. During the Bhakti movement, the saints, Shaivite Nayanas and the Vaishnavite Alvas, contained one saint each from the untouchable communities. The Nayana Saint Nandana was born, according to Periyu Puranam, in a threshold of the huts covered with strips of leather, with mango trees from whose branches were hung drums. In this abode of the people of the the lowest caste. There arose a man with a feeling of true devotion to the feet of Shiva. Nandana was described as a temple servant and leather worker, who supplied straps for drums and gut string for stringed instruments used in the Chidambaram temple, but he was himself not allowed to enter the temple. The Paraiyar regard Nandana as one of their own caste. Scholars such as Burchett and Moffat state that the Bhakti devotionalism did not undermine Brahmin ritual dominance. Instead, it might have strengthened it by warding off challenges from Jainism and Buddhism. British colonial era. By the early 19th century, the Paraiyars had a degraded status in the Tamil society. Francis Buchanan's report on socio-economic condition of South Indians described them as inferior caste slaves, who cultivated the lands held by Brahmins. This report largely shaped the perceptions of the British officials about the contemporary society. They regarded Paraiyars as an outcast, untouchable community. In the second half of the 19th century, there were frequent descriptions of the Paraiyars in official documents and reformist tracts as being disinherited sons of the earth. The first reference to the idea may be that written by Francis Whitehellis in 1818, where he writes that the Paraiyars affect to consider themselves as the real proprietors of the soil. In 1894, William Gowdy, a Wesleyan missionary, said that the Paraiyars were self-evidently the disinherited children of the soil. English officials such as Ellis believed that the Paraiyars were serfs toiling under a system of bonded labor that resembled a European villeinage. However, scholars such as Burtonstein argue that the agricultural bondage in the Tamil society was different from the contemporary British ideas of slavery. Historians such as David Washbrook have argued that the socio-economic status of the Paraiyars rose greatly in the 18th century during the Company rule in India. Washbrook calls it the golden age of the Parayar. Raj Sekhabasu disagrees with this narrative, although he agrees that there were certain important economic developments. The Church Mission Society converted a large number of Paraiyars to Christianity by the early 19th century. During the British Raj, the missionary schools and colleges admitted Paraiyar students amid opposition from the upper caste students. In 1893, the colonial government sanctioned an additional stipend for the Paraiyar students. The colonial officials, scholars and missionaries attempted to rewrite the history of the Paraiyars, characterizing them as a community that enjoyed a high status in the past. Edgar Thurston, for example, claimed that the status was nearly equal to that of the Brahmins in the past. H.A. Stewart, in his census report of 1891, claimed that Valuvans were a priestly class among the Paraiyars and served as priests during Pallava reign. Robert Caldwell, J.H. Atramanhia and Edward Jewett Robinson claimed that the ancient poet-philosopher Tiruvalluvar was a Paraiyar. Buddhist advocacy by Iodithas, who as a doctor by occupation, belonged to a Paraiyar elite. In 1892, he demanded access for Paraiyars to Hindu temples but faced resistance from upper caste Brahmins and Valalas. This experience led him to believe that it was impossible to emancipate the community within the Hindu fold. In 1893, he also rejected Christianity and Islam as the alternatives to Hinduism, because caste differences had persisted among Indian Christians, while the backwardness of contemporary local Muslims made Islam unappealing. Thas subsequently attempted a Buddhist reconstruction of the Tamil religious history. He argued that the Paraiyars were originally followers of Buddhism and constituted the original population of India. According to him, the Brahmanical invaders from Persia defeated them and destroyed Buddhism in southern India. As a result, the Paraiyars lost their culture, religion, wealth and status in the society and became destitute. In 1898, Thus and a large number of his followers converted to Buddhism and founded the Sakya Buddha Society with the influential mediation of Henry Steele, Olcott of the Theosophical Society. Olcott subsequently and greatly supported the Tamil Paraiyar Buddhists. Controversy over the community's name. Adi thus felt that Parayar was a slur, and campaigned against its usage. During the 1881 census of India, he requested the government to record the community members under the name Aboriginal Tamils. He later suggested Dravidian as an alternative term, and formed the Dravida Mahajana Sabha in 1891. Another Parayar leader, Retamalai Srinivasan, however, advocated using the term Parayar with pride. In 1892, he formed the Parayar Mahajana Sabha, and also started a news publication titled Parayar. Thus continued his campaign against the term, and petitioned the government to discontinue its usage, demanding punishment for those who used the term. He incorrectly claimed that the term Parayar was not found in any ancient records, thus subsequently advocated the term Adi Dravida to describe the community. In 1892, he used the term Adi Dravida Jana Sabha to describe an organization, which was probably Srinivasan's Parayar Mahajana Sabha. In 1895, he established the People's Assembly of Dravidians, which probably split off from Srinivasan's organization. According to Michael Burgunder, Thas was thus the first person to introduce the concept of Adi Dravida into political discussion. Another Parayar leader, M.C. Raja, a Madras councillor, made successful efforts for adoption of the term Adi Dravida in the government records. In 1914, the Madras Legislative Council passed a resolution that officially censured the usage of the term Parayar to refer to a specific community, and recommended Adi Dravida as an alternative. In the 1920s and 1930s, Paraiyar v. Ramaswamy ensured the wider dissemination of the term Adi Dravida. Right-hand caste faction. Paraiyars belonged to the Valongai. Some of them assume the title Valungamatin. The Valongai comprised castes with an agricultural basis, while the Idangai consisted of castes involved in manufacturing. Valongai, which was better organized politically. Notable people, religious and spiritual leaders. Poikal Johanan rejected Christianity and Hinduism to found the Pratyaksha Rakshadaiva Sabha. Social reformers and activists. M.C. Raja was a politician, social and political activist from the Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Retamalai Srinivasan, a Dalit activist, politician from the Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Adi Thaspan that founded the Sakya Buddhist Society.